the back half of the tight end room, the final spot, I would say, because JD, talking about tight ends, right? So let's say Jared Wiley's not on the PUP. He starts the season out because I think he would have a leg up on these other guys. Do they keep four tight ends on the active roster going into the season?
You'll definitely keep three. There'll probably be a guy on the practice squad, probably moving back and forth. That's how they probably do. I guess it just depends on what they want to do offensively. And so I think you'll get somewhat of an indication when you start watching the plays during training camp, practice-wise. They got several packages that you can do, 13 personnel, 12 personnel, starting on the PUP. You got to keep those guys here. You have to. And so I think, Jake Briningstool, Robert Tonyan are guys that we would definitely keep. Trey Watson's another guy. We'll see what he'll do. And so is he a practice squad player? We'll have to find out and see. But usually teams try to do, 3 tight ends, at least 4 on a roster. Okay. Got to have that fourth guy. You got to have him. Okay. Especially if you're doing a lot of, like I said, 12 and 13 personnel. Right. So that's why Jared Wiley, when it started on PUP, then it gets difficult as far as like making decisions.
Yeah, well, then it allows you to keep an extra dude if you do start Wiley on the PUP. But specifically, we'll get into the numbers here in a second because I have another graphic showing the numbers between all three of these guys. Because I think the competition is going to be between these three. It's kind of largely what we'll see. But I want to kind of focus more on Trey Watson and Jake Briningstool. So Briningstool, this is what stood out to me. So UDFA market comes out right. We talked about Briningstool was one of the first guys off the market. And a big thing you look at there is to try to win these guys over, obviously a chance to play with the Chiefs, but also, too, looking at their guaranteed contracts and what they offered them. Because a lot of that UDFA market, wheeling and dealing, is about the guaranteed cash, and you can see a lot of how a team sees about a guy based on how much they pay him. So it wasn't only Briningstool who got paid. Trey Watson also got paid. So both tight ends got probably, or amongst, I think, our highest spending guys that we spent. And I think overall, the NFL-wise, they were among the highest paid guys overall from the UDFA market, which is very interesting. The numbers that I saw here for his guaranteed cash-wise, so Briningstool's guaranteed was $264,000 guaranteed. Trey Watson, on the other hand, was $249,000 guaranteed. So both those guys got some pretty good cash for being UDFA guys. Obviously, the Briningstool one, not so surprising since he was supposed to be a top 5 round guy at some point. For him to slip to 7, not be a UDFA guy, kind of crazy. So I do see them doing that. But then Trey Watson, on the other hand, guy I didn't really know much about at all. I mean, we didn't talk about Trey Watson. I mean, I didn't see him on anybody's up-and-coming tight end list this past the draft season. But for him to make $249,000 for a guy who I didn't even hear about before, I think that's really striking to me. And that tells you what they see in Trey Watson and what they see in Jake Briningstool, just seeing the speak of the numbers there. But when you hear those numbers being thrown out to UDFA guys, JD, does that tell you, like, man, they actually might have more of an interest that we may even notice as far as, the Trey Watson getting paid $250K?
Yeah. I mean, that's telling me that, they bought in on those guys. I mean, that's a huge investment that they're making. And so, for them, they can see a guy at least, I want to say, buying loyalty. I don't want to say that because, you get opportunities. You got to go where opportunities open for you, right? And so it just kind of sitting there saying, hey, look, we got this guy right now. We want to keep him here. Okay. And so we're going to give him money to talk to a guy. You try to impress him as much as possible, but that is a significant amount of money, man. You put into a UDA undrafted free agent, really. I think, like we were talking about Jake Briningstool for a fact, I thought he should have been drafted. I did not think it was going to be an undrafted free agent. Did not. But now teams are sitting there saying, "Oh man, okay, we might have made a mistake with this." And the Chiefs, Andy calls him. Right, Marcus? We said it's Andy calls him. That's important, brother. That is an important thing, an important deal. So getting the money, yes. But Andy comes calling, they want you. They want you for a reason. They want you to come over here, just have a cup of coffee and call it a day. And once you go somewhere else, they're sitting there saying, like, look, we are bought all the way in on you. Like I said, you send the big dog to go get him. And that's the one that ended up happening. But Trey Watson, man, that's a significant amount of money. So I just I like to see a little bit more of him to, kind of make a little bit a better analysis of who Trey Watson is. And so maybe this is something, man, that they've been looking at. They had their eyes on this guy for a long time. So we don't quite know. We don't quite know.
Yeah, and Briningstool is one of those names, like, every time in the draft, like when it gets late, like in the 6th or 7th round, it's like, I never heard his name. I wonder where he went. And you look and you search, like, wait, no one took him? Like, what? He's a free agent? And like, I remember on our draft show, I remember someone, I think it was like Mike said, it commented in our chat saying, hey, she just picked up Briningstool, and you love that, obviously, because that was one of the guys you highlighted throughout the pre-draft process. But yeah, I mean, Briningstool, obviously, he had a talent there. It was obviously known to everybody, but he goes undrafted. Trey Watson, that's the interesting one. But let's kind of take a deeper dive into some of these guys. So we have another graphic here that kind of shows a little bit here. So, all right. So, graphic that I brought up just kind of so you guys get a little basis on what these guys are about. Obviously, I don't have the 40 time for Robert Tyne because the guy's a 7-year veteran, so we don't have to go by his college 40 time anymore. But Trey Watson, Briningstool here. So Watson, JD mentioned earlier, his height 6'4", 247. Highest 40 time during the pre-draft process of 4.63. Career stats, not a lot there. I would say not that impressive as far as numbers wise. Based on Trey Watson went from Fresno State. And then he finished at Texas A&M. So obviously in the day and age of the NIL, these guys are playing for 2 to 3 teams, 4 teams, some people. But Fresno State to Texas A&M this past year, career stats 77 for 872 and 5 touchdowns. JD, look at the height and weight here with that 40 time. What does that tell you about him? Just an athletic dude.
Yeah. So this is his official weight and stuff.
Yeah. That was all his pre-draft stuff.
Okay. All right, pre-draft, so, I mean, I guess you got to check the sources because sometimes they say 6'4", next time you walk up to him, man, he's 6'2" and, 225. But if he's 6'4", 247, right, he looked like a big boy right there now. It's like it looked like he looked like he'd been in the weight room. 40 time, 4.63. Doesn't really have to catch a lot of balls, 872, five tubs. If he's relegated to more, he has a size kind of like an H-back, 6'4", 247. He's kind of got that build where they can utilize him in a backfield. Like I said, man, I got to see him on film, Marcus. You know what I mean? To kind of make my assessment on what he's done. The other two I do know, Jake Briningstool and Robert Tyne. I watched Robert. He's up here in Green Bay. So he had a bright future. He, like you said, he was catching a lot of balls, man, from Aaron Rodgers. He was getting open. I thought he was going to be the next heir apparent of the guy up there as far as the tight ends. I'm like, oh, they found another guy. And then he gets hurt. He got hurt again. I'm like, daggone, he's having just a bad string of injuries right now. So, and then, of course, Jake, we've been talking about Jake before the draft, after the draft. We told him, man, we got to get him on the show. We want to talk to him because he is a talent. He's a very savvy tight end, very athletic, got some good speed, got good hands, can get open one-on-one zone. I mean, you name it. He has all those things about him. Like I said, he's like a Gesicki type of player. But, I mean, he set the record in Clemson for tight ends. So it tells you everything, man. So
yeah. Right. So one of the things I'm seeing coming from Joe E, was speculating as to why Briningstool wasn't drafted. I still don't know. We talked about guys like Arondé Gatson, who we thought Gatson was going to be more the guy we could get in round 7. Briningstool we thought was going to go earlier than that. Gatson goes round 4 or 5. He goes pretty early. This guy goes undrafted, which is nuts. But Briningstool, one of the things I read was he didn't test well speed-wise, which wasn't there from the as far as how he tested. Obviously 4.75. I mean, this guy's 6'6", 241. But 4.75 was it's kind of slowish. I think his RAS score wasn't Didn't blow out anybody off the charts, which it's too much of going into that, I would say, because, film doesn't lie, numbers don't lie. And if you look at Briningstool's quarterback play that he's had for the last few years in Clemson, he wasn't playing with Trevor Lawrence. He was playing with guys who, have been bounced around the college scene because they couldn't find a landing spot anywhere. Get 127 catch for 1380 and 17 touchdowns. It's college, I know, but sometimes you can't look at all these other numbers. The RAS scores. Oh, his wiggle wasn't there. Look at his play on the field. I mean, the guy put up numbers, and I think that's one thing that stands out. You can look at numbers all day long, the agility, all that stuff. That's one thing. That's one side of it. But when you look at the guy actually playing, it's like, man, like he doesn't play like he's 4.75. He plays like he's 4.6 40 at tight end. But JD, when you see, I guess the question here from Joey, why do you think Briningstool wasn't drafted? If you had to make a guess as to why.
To be honest with you, I have no idea. You could say his size, 6'6", 241. Sometimes some teams like a guy, maybe that, and other ones they don't. Maybe they felt like he was lacking something somewhere. Not sure. I don't think he was a systems guy, because I do believe that sometimes some guys are in systems. So sometimes numbers do lie somewhat. You can have production, but also too, it depends on what system you're in, right? And then it's about the type of talent you go against. But he played at Clemson. He's going against top talent, top tier talent, each week in and week out. So that can be it. And then, like you said, he was getting open. I seen him stretch out to catch the football over his head, outside his frame. Did a lot of that, Marcus. I seen him go one-on-one with guys, get up the seam, out routes, get open in zone. Man, he did all those things. So I don't know what teams are looking at. I think, okay, I do believe that there's certain guys that somebody said it over here, they do hope guys fall through the cracks. Okay. And if they can't legitimately see you playing in their system, then they won't get you. They're like, we don't need this guy. Okay. We got guys like that here. All right. And so he might have been one of those. He just might have been a victim to that, man. Seriously. They're just saying we might not need his talent or didn't need this guy. What else is he going to bring to the table? But I was saying on Rondé Gatson, he was another guy, like they took him. But I'm just like, shoot, him and Jake, man, probably was right there neck and neck as far as some things they could do.
And Jake, arguably, you could say his game is probably going to translate to the NFL more so than Gatson was. Gatson's pretty much all one kind of a one trick kind of pony.
Oh yeah.
Right? I mean, because one of the things I remember you saying to the pre-draft process is that Gatson ain't blocking a soul out there. But Briningstool is the type of guy who he can get his hands dirty. Yeah, he needs plenty of work on his blocking, but he can get his hands dirty and get in there. Where Gatson was a receiver playing tight end essentially.
Yeah. I don't know if I said that about him, about Gatson. No, he's not going to put his hands on anybody. I think I did say that he'll block somebody too. I think one of the ones I was talking about might have been Fanning. I was saying that about.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So, but I felt like both their abilities is about the same, honestly, in Briningstool and Gatson. But you're right. Gatson was more of a receiver as opposed to like a tight end. And Briningstool, man, shoot, this is what this guy came to Clemson to be. But I don't know. Maybe, like I said, I don't know why he fell through the cracks, to be honest with you. I have no idea. But I think somebody was saying it before, like as soon as the draft was over, I guarantee Andy was on it. He's like, I'm going to call it. I'm going to make that phone call. And I was disappointed for Briningstool not getting drafted. But you know what, Marcus? Hey, it doesn't matter where you start. It's all about how you finish, baby. That's it. It's all about the opportunity, my brother. And so Jake just got to take it by storm now. He got to take it by the reins at this moment and say, every single team that passed on me, I'm going to make pay. That's what I'm going to do. So we watched him out there at practice, just the little clips that we got, and he looks silky smooth. It was like, look, man, it looks natural. Look at him out on his toes. Remember we were sitting there watching him warm up? I'm like, That's athlete. Watch him. He's on his toes. And some people might not see that. Guess what? I see it. Why? I've been around athletes. I see other people look at athletes. You can tell if somebody was athletic. You know, when I watch some certain guys run, some might run pigeon-toed. I'm like, okay, that's an athlete. This sucker got some speed. Small ankles. I got small ankles. Guess what? I'm an athlete. Now, I ain't saying everybody got small ankles is going to be an athlete, but sometimes I'm going to put a little bet on some more than not on some of the things that you have, some of the traits. So I don't know why Briningstool, man, did not get drafted. I do not know. Like I said, man, it could have been that him not necessarily fitting in the system. So Chief said small ankles. Yeah. Chief, I got small ankles, man. This is a small ankle. Let's see. Get this. See it like that. You can't hardly see it, but they got speed up here. Never heard that? Oh, yeah. Well, it's just like jokers with big calves. You see them jokers have big old calves. You like, oh, this sucker, he can squat a lot, man. Maybe not.
I got big calves. Well, I got big calves on small ankles, JD. But one common misconception was big calves. You should be able to dunk the ball. But I can't dunk the ball. I can't dunk. I can touch the rim.
Yeah.
But getting a ball up there, Justin Blackwell. Oh yeah, no finger roll or a little like a classic little floater, JD. Mm-hmm. I go straight to the rack. Jake seems to have an attitude. Maybe that's why he slips. Seems like extreme confidence in me is all. I mean, I didn't get that from his pressers.
I neither. I mean, shoot, you better have some confidence.
Yeah.
If you come out there speaking with some confidence, man, I don't know if we could use it. So I don't mind any confidence. I don't like cockiness or arrogance.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Confidence you could deal with, right? You want a guy to be confident in his abilities and who he is and know who he is. The arrogance is something entirely different. And so I even say at that point, like if a guy's using the system, I was sitting there saying the same thing about Shador. Every team didn't need a quarterback. Everybody couldn't have used Shador Sanders. They couldn't have. And so with certain teams that we know was going to draft him. So everybody, oh, well, how come this team, they don't need him? We got our quarterback. And so we know he was going to come to be a starting quarterback somewhere. That's what he was pushing for. That's what he was going to be. So that was it. But yeah, Sasha said Kankles equal bad athletic performance. Yes, Sasha. I heard that. Yeah, you can almost guarantee it. So.
But yeah, Briningstool nonetheless, I think has a really good shot to make the team and make some noise, especially if Wiley does go to the PUP or starts off. But yeah, I think Briningstool is one of the steals here. You mentioned Robert Tanyan. We'll get Robert Tanyan real quick. Tanyan obviously played for the Packers for a long time, 7-year veteran, 31 years old now, so elder statesman, giving us some kind of veteran presence in a room that already has Kelce and Noah Gray in it. But 6'5", 240 overall through his career, 148 catches, about 1,500 yards, 17 touchdowns. Played for the Packers and the Bears, and now in Kansas City, trying to make a resurrection to his career, battling coming off a myriad of different types of lower body injuries. JD, where do you kind of stand with Robert Tanyan? I mean, how good of a shot does he have? I mean, just given you're going against youth. As an elder statesman at 31, I know 31's not old by any means, but I mean, comparatively to the Briningstools and Trey Watson, you're going to get some young bucks here.
Yeah. You know, the thing is, he's learned his savviness. He's been around. He's been around the block. He knows, what he needs to do to get himself prepared, get things done. He's played in the high system, man. He's been productive this time. He just unfortunately got injured. And so sometimes that's what ends up happening is if he's getting injured and he has a history of it, then it's going to be harder and harder for a guy to make the team, right? Because it is, you just kind of lose out to youth sometimes, how it works. Unless you just make yourself where it's hard to get rid of you. And Tony can do that. He can. He doesn't drop many balls. It's all about him being healthy, right? That's what it's going to boil down to, Marcus. So some of the things they're going to ask me to do, like, hey, man, we need for you to do this. Can you do that? Is he going to miss some time? How do you feel today? And so if you start looking at guys his capability. Is he going to be able to run on special teams and make tackles and stuff too? We'll have to find out. How is his cutting ability based off the injuries he's had before? Those things all had to come into play, in making the decision. So that's I like Robert Tanya. I think he was a very talented tight end, man. So we just had to see. We just had to see.
I mean, and kudos to him. I mean, regardless of, if he does make the team, the guy who took a year off football, JD, you can empathize with this. You took a year off as well when you had your catastrophic knee injury. And this is a guy who has dealt with injuries. Took a year off football, didn't play in 2024. Now he's trying to make it back to a roster in 2025. I mean, I'm rooting for him. If he makes the team, he makes the team. It's like we don't know what we got in Trey Watson or Briningstool. We like the potential there. We've seen what Titans can be at his peak. But to have him as your potential fourth tight end or third tight end, that's not bad based on what we saw at Titans' peak. But yeah, a guy took a year off football to get right from his injuries. I'm definitely rooting for him because it's a very interesting story, kind of a Cinderella story to kind of look at.
Yeah, no question about it. I think, like, for me, and I kind of talk about this, is, I created that value in one thing I could do is I could block extremely well. And so I took a lot of pride in those things that I did. One of the things I could do, people go back and look at, I used to stretch the defense while I was in Philly. I could go up there and go get them. I could pick them up, put them down. Had the speed, the quickness, all those different things. And then when I got to Kansas City, Tony was there. And obviously when I came in, I had to carve out this niche type of deal. And they could utilize it. So that's the type of value you had to do. And I tell you, man, you got to make it hard for them to get rid of you. That's what you do. You're like, oh, shoot, there's no way you can get rid of him. That's what you have to do. So when you create that type of value in it, and teams are sitting there saying, we're not going to be successful without this guy, can Robert do that is the question. And so we'll just have to see, man. And it's hard, man, when you got there's so much talent in that room, man. There's so much talent, Marcus. So, jeez. Yeah, Stanley Mooney says, Time knows the system, so that's already a plus. He knows it, but also, too, can it lose out to youth? Yeah. And I also said this as well, Marcus. Hey, you come expendable, we make more money. Some as a vet, the NFL would take part of that money, but then, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good battle.
It's good. Yeah, it's interesting too because it's like the two ends of the spectrum here. You got the younger bucks like the Watson and Briningstools, and then you have the Italians who at the time was a top tight end, top 10-ish tight end in the league. As far as fantasy wise, he was owned in fantasy when he was at his peak. So that's how a guy was a stud. But then the injuries have mounted up, the year off football, and now it's like, okay, what can you do to kind of resurrect yourself against these young guys? And it's gonna be interesting to see. Tight end room is gonna be very interesting to watch, just based on the Kelce aspect, the Noah Gray aspect, and then on the other end, seeing what happens with Wiley. Does he go to PUP? And then you look at these guys, like who wins the battle here, the elder statesman or the young bucks?
Yeah, that's a story that happens every single year. That's how it works, brother. That's just how it works, because the bottom line is who's going to perform the best. Okay. And this is a performance-based business, pure and simple. And it's just because we like you, we're going to keep you here. No, we need to see you perform. And I think people need to understand that. And even if a young guy comes in and he looks good and stuff like that, we need also not just performance, but consistency is another one. And that means being available on the field. If you're hurt all the time, that's another thing we can't use. We can't utilize that. So these battles are going to be something that's going to be somewhat prolific in camp. I'm wanting to see this because I think this is whoever we have in the tight end room after it's all said and done, I think we're going to utilize those guys. So I wouldn't be shocked if we don't carry 4 tight ends on the roster. I don't. I wouldn't be shocked at all. Especially we have, it depends on the number of wide receivers decide to carry. That's going to come into play too, because it's like, okay, well, shoot, if we're only going to carry 6 wide receivers, 4 tight ends, then this is what we're going to do, right? So you start getting into the numbers of things, man. So we'll just have to see. I don't know. We'll see.
Very talented room, nonetheless. And all ends of the spectrum there. Young, old, Hall of Famers. It's one of those things too. Yeah, the Tanyan year off football story is going to be one that hasn't been talked about enough because you don't usually see that often where guys take a year off and try and make a return. I think that's something that's admirable, regardless if he makes a team or not. I think that's something that should be talked about a little bit more from all the Chiefs content creators. I know tight end 6 isn't the sexiest guy to talk about, but you're getting a lot of clicks and views on that. But nonetheless, it's an interesting story to kind of look at as the offseason goes on. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out the best clips from Chief Concerns. And if you prefer to listen to the show, subscribe and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you get your podcasts.